Welcome back to another full self-driving video. We are going to be testing the new software update today. We have FSD version 14.2.2.4. So we recently did this test or similar test on a previous version of 14, and it did pretty well aside from navigation and some of the parking nuances of parking in the correct spaces or spaces that you should park in. So we're going to try it out again today and see with 14.2.2.4 if it does a better job at parking in those spaces, and as well as is better with the navigation. I have heard from some that it is supposed to be better at navigation and parking. So that would be good if true. So we're going to give it a shot here. We're going to Little Caesars first, and then we're going to go to this McDonald's, which is right here, very close by. See if it does a better job about navigating in the parking lot. So again, we are passing this EVgo charging station here, and they have two cars using it. So what do we have here? Is this was this a Polestar? I think, yeah, Polestar 2 and BMW. I'm not really sure which BMW that is. It's a larger SUV. So that EVgo charger does get decent amount of usage. All right, so here is Little Caesars. We can park anywhere over here. There are more cars this time, so might be harder to find spaces, but all right, it picks a space and it does a very good job close to Little Caesars, so good deal. All right, next stop is McDonald's. Again, just right across the parking lot, so not a big deal. But want to see if it selects appropriate spaces at all of these destinations. That Little Caesars did have a couple handicap spaces out right in front of it. Obviously, those would have been closer and would have been the incorrect space to park in. We still do not have the option to select which parking space we would want. Supposedly that is coming in a future update of 14. I don't know if that's going to be 14.3 or what, but for now, it's just going to park however it sees fit between we're selecting parking lot and charger or curbside. Does have the option for parking garage when there's a parking garage in the vicinity, but none of our destinations have that. All right, so we are parking in what appears to be a handicap spot for not McDonald's. So I guess that answers that question. We are definitely not doing better at parking, but we are going to avoid some traffic because now we're not going to have to go around into the rush hour traffic to get out to Einstein Brothers Bagels. We'll actually cut the corner here and go the other direction. And it's selected driveway for Einstein's. I'm going to go with parking lot. Not sure why it picked driveway for Einstein Brothers Bagels. But I did change it to parking lot, so we should park there. So that was a fail on a parking spot. We actually did not park at McDonald's. We were within walking distance. I will give it that. However, we also parked in a handicap space, which was not where we should have parked. All right, a little interesting interaction there with a pedestrian. He was going one way, and then he quickly changed directions and sort of started back towards the car, and the car reacted real quick and kind of turned the wheel sharply and was going to stop, but then he noticed that we were there, so it carried on. Now, I don't like passing cars that have their backup lights on, but we did wait for the other guy to back out, so that's fine. All right. So I would say 1 for 2 on the destinations there. Still just doesn't do a very good job of parking at the actual location. I'm pretty sure that we also have a similar problem with Dunkin' Donuts we did last time, where the navigation was off and it ended up parking us at the Einstein Brothers Bagels and parking lot in just a different parking spot. So I couldn't figure out why it was doing that, and then it turned out that they had the pin for this Dunkin' Donuts, which is relatively new, but they had the pin in the wrong location for the navigation. So the car just moved from one parking spot to another. So we'll see, but it probably will do that again. And that's really the bummer of FSD 14, is that it has gotten to the point where it is driving very good. It parks usually fairly well, although sometimes in the wrong spots or at the wrong locations. But the navigation is just it's off sometimes. So things are not in the right location according to the map. So the car is obviously going to go to where it says on the map that the location is. And if it's incorrect, well, there's really no way to fix it other than dropping a pin. So that's unfortunate. Also, we still do not have the update on the speed limits outside of our neighborhood, so I continue to have to turn it into Mad Max in order for it to get up to a reasonable speed, because it thinks it's 30 miles per hour and it's actually 45. So it's actually kind of dangerous to be driving 30 miles per hour on that road. All right, here is, oh, that was Einstein's. So I don't know, man, it's doing much worse this time. Apparently it thinks it's going to Einstein Brothers Bagels, but instead we are parking in the, okay, it did avoid parking in the handicap spot. Okay. But we almost parked in the handicap spot. That would have been pathetic. This isn't a great parking job, though. I will say that. It doesn't seem like it's finished. Is it going to finish? I'm not sure what it's doing. It's thinking. We're at a gas station, so we're actually at the Racetrack instead of Einstein Brothers Bagels. So the wrong location, and right now the car is struggling to decide what to do here, whether it's going to park or not. Trying to have a lot of patience here. So somebody that drove across the country with zero interventions, what would they have done in a situation like this where the car is clearly stuck? Because I don't see a way to, let's see, can we navigate somewhere? I mean, I could press park. I'll just press park. All right. Very poor parking job, but I think that I don't know. Maybe we could say that that's not an interaction or an intervention, but it definitely parked poorly in this spot, as well as it didn't seem like it was ever going to stop, and we're at the wrong location. So, wow. And this time we are going to go, looks like the hardest way possible. Duncan's actually across the street, but I can already see from the navigation here that we're not going there. We're actually going to go all the way back, do a U-turn to come back to the parking lot that we should have parked in the first place for Einstein's, and it's going to think that it's at Dunkin' Donuts. So, yeah, this is not a good drive. In fact, it's much worse than it was last time on an earlier version of 14. Again, I mean, if I just drop a pin to these locations, I'm sure you could do a better job. You know, in fact, let's cancel Duncan. Let's cancel Duncan. Let's add Taste of Italy. Let's see. Taste of Italy. Because we already know this is going to do it wrong. Let's see. Edit trip. Done. Add stop. Taste of Italy. All right, so this one's Taste of Italy is right across the street. I don't think we can actually go straight from this lane. We do have, yeah, this is a left turn only. All right, so I didn't get it to avoid doing that U-turn. Oh, wait. Okay, we're going to go, I guess there's a back street here. So one thing that is good about FSD now is that if you are in a lane that is marked to go a particular direction, it does honor that direction regardless of whether the navigation changes or it's not the most efficient way to go. So I think that's good, you know, because you really shouldn't be changing lanes out of, you know, a lane that is marked to go left. You shouldn't go straight, obviously. But we did have room to actually get over into the straight lane. It could have done so, but I think that is technically not what you're supposed to do. So I think that's probably a good decision. Ugh. Speed bump. All right, so here we are at Taste of Italy. See where it's going to park us here. And it's going to back us into a space here, and that's fine. This is a reasonable spot to park in order to walk over to Taste of Italy. I mean, I think there's closer spots, but that's fine. Not a good... Oh, okay, it's going to correct itself. I was going to say, that was going to be a pretty bad parking job again, but it recentered itself there, and now that's a much better job. Yeah, so good job. All right, so that correction to go to this location, go to Taste of Italy instead of Dunkin' actually worked out very well. We were supposed to have City Barbecue on there, so I'm going to go ahead and add that. It is right across the street, but we have in the past had problems with that location. So it should be an easy one. Now, the navigation there almost acted like it was going to go behind the building, which I don't want to do. But now it corrected to go into the parking lot and then go across. So let's see if it does that properly. Yeah, so the navigation and the parking are the two biggest problems still, even with all these extra point releases on version 14 of FSD. I don't really know what they're doing. They must be very small changes, They don't seem to be impacting my drives much at all. I will get out another day and see if has any updates to the parking garage and the parallel parking, because that is also a problem it's had a lot of times. Okay, this is interesting. We just went to the other side of this shopping center and are parking here. But City Barbecue's on the other side of the street. So, yeah, another navigation fail. Interesting. All right, well, I'll just take it. I mean, this is what FSD is doing. If I was going to City Barbecue, I would never park over here because I would need to walk across the street. This is a major road here. I have to walk across there to get to City Barbecue, which obviously makes no sense because you just park in the City Barbecue parking lot. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'll give it one more try to go to the City Barbecue there. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So this time I dropped a pin over there. Let's see if... Oh, whoops. Never mind. I apparently wiped out the City Barbecue by hitting continue trip instead of the navigation there. Oh well. No City Barbecue tonight. Just going to go to Target and we're going to see if it parks appropriately excuse me, at Target. Last time we did this, again in an earlier version of 14, it parked behind the Target, which would not be a good location to park. Obviously you want to park in front of the building. So let's see what it does this time. It looks like it does have the pin to be in front of Target. So hopefully it will actually take that route. Last time it turned here, and that would have... Obviously, it's a way you can go, but this does make more sense to go this way. So, all right. So, I don't know. It seems like it had a big problem with the navigation to McDonald's. It parked us in the wrong location and in a handicap space. So again, it's still not reading the signs of parking spots and recognizing one that it should park in versus it shouldn't. Although they do need to change it so it actually has the ability to park in a handicap space if you wanted to, if you needed to, So, that's not supported. So the navigation was off on McDonald's. The navigation was off on Einstein's, even though it had the pin in the right location. It for some reason chose to park at the Racetrack. And then for the Dunkin' Donuts, it actually ended up trying to go the hardest way possible. The guy's he's trying to get his car to go faster. He knows it's going really slow. That was pretty funny. FSD doesn't mind waiting for all these pedestrians, so that was fine. Pretty funny, though. Anyway, so it had a bad navigation to Dunkin', and then it had a bad... Okay, so I think it was going to park where that guy was actually walking, and then it chose to back into this space instead because he kind of came out from behind that car. So ended up parking in a good spot here. So it didn't want to go the right direction to Dunkin', so I just went ahead and canceled that one, went to Taste of Italy. It parked there pretty well, but then trying to go to City Barbecue, it was a total fail because it parked on the other side of a major street instead of parking at City Barbecue. And then it did a good job of parking at Target, whereas last time it did not. So mixed results there. I would say that I don't notice any improvements, at least I would say, to FSD on 14.2.2.4. Obviously, I haven't given it a lot of drives yet. This is really just the first drive I've had with it. But a lot of the navigation issues that we had before are actually still present. And also some of the navigation issues that we didn't have previously, it decided to have this time. So that is not really going in the right direction. I still think that the biggest problem that we see with version 14 is just the navigation, as well as the map data, whatever you want to call it, because we got the speed limits, we got the locations for things, and just the navigation in general often will take almost the worst possible route to get to a location. Like when it was trying to go to that Dunkin', and like literally it could have just turned left and gone 100 feet to where it thought the Dunkin' was, and instead it turned right, was going to go out on the street, turn left, go down a ways, do a U-turn, come back to that location. So that's like, the navigation just makes no sense sometimes. And that parking job at Racetrack, it did not appear that it was going to actually stop. It was kind of stuck in that moment. I gave it a pretty good amount of time, I believe, for it to make a decision on whether it was going to park there or if it was going to correct itself. We were parking at the wrong location anyway. We were supposed to be at Einstein Brothers, and we were at a Racetrack, and it was just kind of frozen like 3/4 of the way into a space at kind of a bad angle, and it was kind of like jittering the steering wheel, so I wasn't sure what was going on with that. But anyway, all of the interactions with pedestrians and cars were good and safe, so it drives great. I just think it's the map data and the navigation data that is the biggest challenge right now, and that also, the map data plays into the problems I have with the speed control, because of if it doesn't have the speed limit correct, then often the speed profiles don't actually help you get the speed you want it to be in. So anyway, more improvements to come, hopefully, with FSD, hopefully soon. This is the latest update though, so I don't know when they're gonna release the next one, but that's it for this one. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.